Charisma wasn't just a name, it was who she was. Warm, magnetic, soft-spoken yet confident. The kind of person who made others feel safe simply by being present. She grew up in Forest View, surrounded by a family who adored her. She was nurturing, protective, the heart-first type who checked on friends even when she was the one hurting. Her dreams weren't loud or elaborate. She simply wanted stability, love, and a future she could build step by step. She had plans, responsibilities, routines. And above all, she had a life tied tightly into the people who waited for her at home. Nothing about her disappearance made sense to them. Not the timing, not the silence, not the suddenness. She was the type who always checked in. She wasn't the type who just disappeared. Like many young adults navigating the world of friendships and dating, Charisma met Richard Chavez online. They weren't close, not romantically involved in any meaningful way. He wasn't a long-term partner. He wasn't someone ingrained in her daily life. He was, in many ways, a stranger wearing the costume of familiarity. They communicated over social media. Brief messages, casual exchanges, nothing that raised immediate alarms. But digital trust can be deceptive. People present a version of themselves that feels safe. Until it isn't. On January 23, 2022, Charisma agreed to visit Chavez at his home in Oak Park. A private surveillance camera captured their last recorded moment together. 10:40 p.m. Chavez walks along the sidewalk. He meets her outside. They enter his home side by side. Charisma was never seen leaving. Her world, the people who loved her, the routine she relied on, all paused and waited for a message that would never come. That night, there were no signs that danger was waiting for Charisma. No messages indicating fear. No hesitation about visiting his home. No awareness of the risk she was stepping into. She believed she was safe. She believed she was walking into a friend's home, not the beginning of her final moments. When Charisma didn't return home, her family felt an immediate and instinctive worry, the kind that grips the chest and refuses to let go. She always checked in. She always let someone know where she was going. Her silence was instantly alarming. As the hours stretched into the next morning, her absence became more than concerning. It became terrifying. Calls went unanswered. Texts remained unread. And the surveillance footage collected by investigators painted a chilling truth. Charisma entered that home, but she never walked back out. In the days that followed, police retraced her steps. They interviewed those closest to her, combed through her digital communications, and analyzed cell tower pings. Everything led back to one location and one man: Richard Chavez. What started as a missing person report quickly shifted into something far more urgent and far more devastating. Police now had to uncover not just where Charisma was, but what had happened inside that house after the door closed behind her. The answers would come slowly, painfully, and truthfully, leading investigators toward evidence that would break her family's heart. And the discovery waiting at Chavez's home would confirm their worst fears. When a young woman goes silent, it sends a tremor through everyone who knows her. By January 24th, just a day after Charisma vanished, investigators already knew something was wrong. She wasn't the kind of person who disappeared without a trace. She didn't walk away from responsibilities. She didn't ghost the people she loved. Police began their work the way all careful investigators do, retracing her last movements, checking her digital footprints, interviewing friends, reviewing surveillance, and mapping out her final known interactions. Everything pointed to one location. Richard Chavez. He was the last person to see her, and he had no explanation for where she went next. Before entering his home, Charisma and Chavez appear together on a private surveillance camera outside his house. The time reads 10:40 p.m., January 23, 2022. She walks toward his doorway. They but went inside. And from that moment on, there is no footage of her leaving. But what is captured afterward becomes deeply suspicious. On January 24th, cameras show Chavez wearing a particular mask, one investigators later found inside his house. His movements are jittery, hurried, the energy of someone hiding something rather than grieving someone missing. The camera didn't show a crime, but it showed a man whose timeline was cracking. By January 31st, a full search warrant was executed at Chavez's residence, a turning point in the entire case. Detectives walked through the doorway Charisma entered 9 days earlier, and what they found was chilling. A partially packed suitcase, left in his bedroom, not fully zipped, not fully filled. The kind of suitcase someone prepares when they're planning to move a body or leave in a hurry. Hair clippings inside his garbage, freshly cut, not swept up. The kind that appear when someone tries to alter their appearance quickly. For investigators, this wasn't random. It was a man trying to shed the version of himself connected to Charisma's disappearance. The black mask, the same one he wore in the surveillance video on January 24th. This tied him to the movements he couldn't explain. His behavior, defensive and inconsistent. Everything inside that home felt like a room someone had tried and failed to sanitize of guilt. Detectives began reconstructing the final hours of January 23rd. 10:40 p.m. Charisma enters the home. Late night. No signs of her leaving. Early hours of January 24th. Chavez appears alone on footage, wearing the mask. Following days. No digital activity from Charisma. Richard gives evasive answers about her disappearance. Police didn't have to guess anymore. This wasn't a teenage runaway. This wasn't a miscommunication. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a crime scene, one hidden behind normal walls and quiet hallways. Investigators concluded Charisma was killed by strangulation and smothering, methods that reflect closeness, control, and cruelty. These were not distant, impulsive actions. They required proximity. They required intent. In the quiet moments where she should have been safe, she was instead confronted with violence. The medical truth confirmed the emotional truth. She trusted someone who had no intention of protecting her. When detectives broke the news to her family, it shattered their world. Parents aren't supposed to bury their children. They aren't supposed to receive calls that their daughter, who simply went to meet a friend, would never come home again. Charisma's mother described the days of waiting as endless, suffocating. The moment they learned she was gone, the silence in their home felt irreversible. She wasn't just a case number. She wasn't a headline. She was their girl, warm, gentle, trusting, and full of potential. Chavez didn't just take her life. He took her future, her milestones, her joys, her voice. Her family had to stand in a courtroom and listen to the details of what her final moments might have looked like, an unimaginable weight placed onto people who loved her deeply. By the time investigators confronted Richard Chavez again, the tone had shifted. Gone were the polite questions. Gone was the assumption of misunderstanding. At this point, they had a timeline, they had surveillance, they had physical items from his home, and they had a victim who never walked out of his door alive. Chavez stayed calm, too calm, the kind of calm that feels rehearsed. But evidence doesn't care about someone's performance, cares about facts. And the facts were forming a straight line that ended squarely with his name. When police finally arrested Chavez, they weren't acting on a hunch. They were acting on a trail of proof. The suitcase, mask, and the hair clippings. The inconsistent explanations. The complete lack of movement from Charisma after she entered his home. The medical findings showing she died by strangulation and smothering. Acts that cannot be dismissed as accidents. This wasn't a disappearance. It was a killing. One that happened behind closed doors with no mercy and no second thought for the life taken. Chavez was taken into custody and charged with the murder of 20-year-old Charisma Arizman. Prosecutors charged Richard Chavez with first-degree murder, strangulation, and smothering resulting in death. The charges reflected the brutality, the intimacy, and the deliberateness of the act. Strangulation isn't quick. It isn't silent. It involves minutes of suffering. Minutes when an attacker has every opportunity to stop. Prosecutors argued this wasn't impulsive violence. It was intentional control, followed by an attempt to conceal the evidence. Chavez had the motive, he had the opportunity, and he had the last known interaction with Charisma. Forest View and the surrounding Illinois communities felt the shock ripple through them. Charisma wasn't some nameless figure. She was a young woman people recognized. Warm, genuine, full of life. She still had goals, friendships, dreams. Her loss wasn't just tragic. It felt profoundly unjust. People feared for their daughters, for their sisters, for the young women who trust too deeply in a world that sometimes preys on kindness. Her case sparked conversations around digital safety, meeting people from social media, and how vulnerable young women can be in moments where they feel the least in danger. Parents held their children closer. Friends became more cautious with who they met. The community realized how fragile safety can be. For her family, the days after her discovery were a blur of grief. It wasn't just the loss, it was the way she was taken. Her mother talked about her smile, the kind that softened any room she walked into. Her father described her as their sunbeam, someone who carried warmth effortlessly. In a moment of raw pain, her family admitted one truth that no parent should ever feel. They will never get answers that make this hurt feel any lighter. Because no explanation can justify a future stolen. No trial can replace a daughter. No sentence can rewind the moment she walked through the wrong door. With the evidence stacked and the timeline cemented, prosecutors moved toward securing justice. Chavez was officially charged for her murder, a charge built on forensic truth and investigative persistence. Her story became a reminder of how quickly trust can turn into danger, and how one person's cruelty can alter dozens of lives forever. When a young life ends, people often struggle to speak about the victim in past tense. With Charisma, that pain was especially sharp. She was only 20, barely beginning her adult life, barely stepping into the world with her own dreams and plans. Those who knew her described a young woman with a warm, magnetic spirit, the kind of light you don't expect to lose. Her laugh was soft but contagious. Her compassion was steady, not loud or performative, but genuine in every interaction. She was the person who checked in on friends even when they forgot to check on themselves. Her death wasn't just a crime. It was a fracture in her community, a reminder of how fragile trust can be, and how quickly a moment of vulnerability can be weaponized by someone with darker intentions. Her family speaks about her with bittersweet affection, proud of who she was, devastated by how soon she left. Her mother still keeps Charisma's childhood items tucked safely in drawers, not out of refusal to move on, but as a way to hold on to pieces of a daughter who brought warmth into every room. Her father says he sometimes still expects to hear her footsteps at home, muscle memory of a life that felt secure only 2 years earlier. The holidays feel different now. Birthdays are quieter. Family photos sting in a way no one wishes to understand. For them, justice wasn't about vengeance. It was about acknowledgement that their daughter mattered, that her life was worth more than the final minutes she endured, and that the world should remember her name for the right reasons. The circumstances of Charisma's death shook Forest View to its core. Young people who casually met others through social media suddenly reconsidered. Parents became more cautious. Friends became more protective of one another's safety. Her story sparked conversations around meeting strangers from social apps, late-night visits without sharing locations, recognizing subtle red flags, understanding that danger doesn't always come with warnings. It wasn't fear-mongering, it was reality, a painful wake-up call that trust, once misplaced, can come at the highest cost. Charisma's name became tied to advocacy. Some locals began hosting safety workshops for teenagers, teaching them practical steps to protect themselves. Location sharing, background checking, safe meeting spots, buddy systems. The lesson was not paranoia. It was preparedness. Something Charisma deserved, and something others could still benefit from. With evidence in place, the suitcase, the hair clippings, the surveillance, the cell data, and ultimately the medical findings, prosecutors built a solid timeline of events. They asserted that Richard Chavez took advantage of the privacy of his home, the trust Charisma placed in him, and the vulnerability of the moment. And when the violence ended, he allegedly attempted to erase what he'd done instead of helping the young woman dying in front of him. The charges against him reflected the gravity of the act: first-degree murder, strangulation, and smothering resulting in death. The weight of those charges ensured he would face consequences equal to the life he stole. And for Charisma's family, it was the first step toward closure. Not healing, because healing implies something can be fully repaired, but closure, in the sense that the truth was finally acknowledged in a courtroom, under oath, with evidence that couldn't be twisted or ignored. At vigils, friends placed candles shaped in the initials C. They shared photos of her smiling, traveling, joking, living, proof that she was so much more than her final night. In her memory, some of her peers began volunteering at shelters, crisis centers, and community outreach programs. They decided that if her life was stolen, then at least her memory would help protect others. That's the kind of legacy she deserved, one rooted in kindness, empathy, and protection for the next young woman who might trust the wrong person. Even now, years later, the case leaves a quiet ache. It's the kind of story that forces you to pause, because the tragedy wasn't random. It happened in a familiar place, between two people who once communicated casually online. And it shows how the line between safety and danger can sometimes be as thin as a single message, a single visit, a single moment when someone chooses harm over humanity. Charisma deserved a long life, a future, a family, a chance to grow into the full woman she was becoming. That chance was taken from her. But her memory stays. Not faded, not forgotten, but carried forward by those she loved. If you found this case fascinating, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We post crime case videos every night. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.